At first blush, Alkan's The Vision may seem naive. Actually, it is full of subtle twists of melody and harmony. I have chosen the next piece because, besides being utterly enchanting, it demonstrates very lucidly some factors of Alkan's style that I threatened earlier to try to explain to you. I don't want to go into these matters from a technical standpoint. Musicians have all sorts of ponderous terms for these phenomena: musica ficta, polymodality, cross-relations, and so on. These terms sound more biological or anthropological than musical, and I think you will grasp the point much quicker simply by using your ears. Without going into any detail, I'll just say that the strange clashes of harmony in that fragment from Henry Purcell are caused by three separate parts or voices moving independently and logically to a given point. Each of the voices sounds well by itself, but all three played together produce grating dissonances. This sort of procedure was quite accepted in early English music, but was frowned on by later generations who made strenuous rules to protect their delicate ears, and very few composers dared break these rules. Now listen to this. That was a very simple example of the way Mahler in his Lied von der Erde did similar things to what the early English composers did. Each of the two parts moves perfectly logically, one going up, one going down, and yet they clash violently at one point, where the rising voice plays a B natural and the descending part plays a B flat. Here is a slightly more complicated example of the same sort of thing in the same composition. Alkan makes very frequent use of this kind of voice leading, and in a way remarkably similar to Mahler's. Here is a fragment from his very amusing Funeral March for a Papagayo. Another manifestation of this kind of freedom is found in jazz, where certain notes are introduced which are outside of the ordinary major scale and which do not belong to the accompanying harmonies. These are called blue notes and are usually produced by lowering the third and seventh degrees of the major scale. And which, strangely, is exactly what Alkan does in his G minor Barcarolle. And there is another device, fairly common in music, called the Neapolitan cadence, which, in very simple terms, consists of lowering the second degree of the scale at the cadence. You find this in Alkan's Barcarolle. I can think of no composers who use this device in all its ramifications as frequently, as subtly, and as beautifully as Alkan and Mahler. Here is a simple and incredibly poignant example of it from Mahler's Lied von der Erde. Here is a more complicated example from the second movement of Alkan's sonata. And one from the third movement of the same work. Here is a beautiful example with some blue notes thrown in from Mahler's 8th Symphony. And a remarkably similar one from a little piece of Alkan's called Le Premier Billet Doux. Now, let me play for you the tiny piece which has provoked this barrage of technicalities which I have valiantly tried to keep slightly clearer than mud. The Barcarolle in G minor by Charles Valentin Alkan.